In NFL football, there were a ton of games this weekend. First, we'll get into, of course, for those of you that don't know, I handicap. We had a really big weekend this weekend. 3-0-1. We had 4 games in the college football on Saturday. We had Louisville and North Carolina. We took the points with North Carolina. North Carolina was getting 12 points. It ended up pushing. The final was 47-35. It was a 3-unit play, and we pushed. And then we won. I had 2 5-unit selections, which is very, very rare to have on one weekend of games. I have a formula and system that I use to determine my plays. But we won our 2 5 units with Cincinnati getting 34.5 points. They lost by 22, good for a 12.5 point cover. We also had the over in the USC and Stanford game. The total was 56 points. The final score was 42-24. 42-24. 66 total points posted and a 10-point cover. And then we had a 2-unit play with South Carolina plus the 2.5. I thought the wrong team was favored in that one, Josh, and they ended up winning the game 31-13 for a 20.5 point cover. I maybe should have made that one a 5-unit too, huh? You know, I talked early before the season in my buddy Quentin's podcast about South Carolina, and I talked about their wide receiver Deebo Samuel. I talked about the young quarterback they have, Jake Bentley, and he asked the question, name a team that you think could be a surprise team in the BCS talk about halfway through. And the team that I chose was South Carolina. I looked at their schedule, and we've talked about this, I believe, on the show. And I really like their quarterback. I am not a big Will Muschamp fan, but he knows how to coach a defense. When you put 2 minds together, him and their D coordinator, they held a very, very explosive Missouri offense to 13 points at home at Missouri, which is a tough place to go and play. I do have them finishing dead last in the SEC West, going 5-7 and 1-7. And the way it looks right now, I don't know if they win 3 games. After losing to South Carolina, it's looking like a 3-9, 4-8 season, and I would be surprised if they got a win in the SEC. They can score points. Drew Lock's their quarterback. South Carolina covered that 2.5 very easily. Good for 3-0-1, and plus 12 units on the week. That brings my record for the year, the opening week and last week, to 11-4-1 against the spread. And we're off to a good start. So anyone interested, you can call me, 901-900-9315. That's my personal line. If you want some more information, we can go over pricing. We can go over money management, bankroll, discipline, all the things that are important. We're in this to make money, not give it away. I can definitely help you, or you can email me, andrew@vanelli.net. So that was the week that we had in college football. 4 plays, 3-0-1. Just 1 point away from going 4-0, Josh. That could have been a loss, though, too. UNC scored a touchdown late in the back door to cover, but they were winning the game by a point with about 12 minutes to go, I believe, and everything was looking good. But that happens. That's college football. Lamar Jackson took over the game late and showed everyone why he was the Heisman. So we'll segue that into who I believe will be the Heisman. How about Baker Mayfield in Oklahoma going to the shoe and beating Ohio State? What a start to that campaign, and I believe he will now be up there as far as one of the top runners to win the Heisman. That's who I picked, and I based it on the premises that if Oklahoma makes it through the Big 12 with only 1 loss, they beat Ohio State, and they show up in the BCS playoff, Baker Mayfield, it will be because of Baker Mayfield's play, and he will win the Heisman. Whether or not that comes to fruition, we've got 10 games to go to find out. But that was my pick.
You know what's interesting about Baker Mayfield? I always like that as a quarterback anyway, but I didn't know the fire he had.
Man,
I mean, if you saw,
he's amazing.
After my think it was after the game.
Yeah.
The whole flag, running like a madman with the flag, and then
I love it, man.
just stuck it. I really did think that was cool.
I love it, man. He has a ton of heart.
Yeah.
He reminds me of Doug Flutie. If you remember, I don't know, you might be a little too young to remember Doug Flutie. But Doug Flutie, if he would have been a little bit bigger, he won a couple rings. He played in the NFL. He won a couple rings at the Calgary Stampede in the CFL. But he had tremendous heart, man. And he knew how to get away from pressure. He knew how to make big throws late in the game when he played at Boston College. And, one of the most famous plays of all of college football was that play that Hail Mary, man, And Baker Mayfield kind of resembles a little bit, He knows how to get around. He knows how to escape pressure. He gives his team and his receivers a little more time downfield. And he just makes plays, man. He's a winner. He makes plays. And Oklahoma has started the season good. What a big win for that program. And now Ohio State really has to go. They have to sweep the season. Can they do it? I don't know, man. The Big Ten's got some good teams in it this year. When you look at Penn State, when you look at Wisconsin, and when you look at Michigan. Michigan has been surprisingly good to me. I think I picked them 9-3. I thought they were going to be a little inexperienced. I didn't think that Speed, the quarterback, was really ready to take them to a Big Ten title. Could they compete for a Big Ten title? I believe that they could compete, be in the top 3 or 4. But they are definitely going to challenge Ohio State, Penn State, and then Wisconsin is a team who, because of their schedule, the softness of their schedule, I think they could potentially be like a dark horse type team that's kind of in the hunt late. That is definitely a dark horse pick. I think it'll come down to one of those 3 between Ohio State, Penn State, and Michigan. That takes me to the next game on the docket. Clemson shuts down the Auburn Tigers in Happy Valley. I kind of called that one. It was not one of my plays. I kind of stay away from the marquee games. The odds makers know how to call those. But Clemson, Auburn did an excellent job on defense. Excellent job when you hold an offense like that to 14 points. But Clemson did an even better job, and that crowd, Auburn made a mistake or two, and that's kind of what I said the difference would be, the home field advantage. Auburn going on the road early in the year. I think I said, if the game was in week 8, where you kind of had found your identity, the game would probably be. Don't get me wrong, it was very competitive. But Clemson is, a team that I feel like, I know they're ranked 5, but I feel like a lot of people were sleeping on them. Everybody was talking about Florida State and the ACC, not really talking about the champs because of Deshaun Watson leaving. And me and you touched on last week, Taj Boyd. When he left, what was everybody saying? What's Clemson going to do without Taj? What's next? And who comes in? Deshaun Watson. This year, kind of the same story. What are they going to do without Deshaun Watson? He exited the league. He's now at the Texans. He had a rough day yesterday. We'll touch on that later on. But he did get his chance, which is good. I think he's the better option over Tom Savage. But anyways, Clemson takes care of business. They win 14-6, and now they have a solid win over a top SEC opponent on their their list of big wins against Power 5 conferences, to where if they lose a game in the ACC, they can still make it into that BCS playoff, because I believe at the end of the year, when they look at their body of work, that Auburn win is going to be a top 15 quality win.
I believe, and it was interesting, that defensive line, man.
Oh, I don't.
The pressure they get, I don't know if it was more Auburn couldn't block or the greatness of the pass.
Right.
Stidham had no time to move.
Stidham was, and that's what I said last week in the show. I said Dabo Swinney, what everyone's talking about Florida State. What about Clemson? What about Clemson? I said it on the podcast. I said it on the show. I talked about it with my friends, colleagues, and Dabo Swinney every year has brought in a top 3 class, and he brings in players on both sides of the ball. They're loaded. They've always had guys on the edge putting pressure on the quarterback. They're solid up the middle. They've got quick linebackers. They've got guys that can man you up on the outside, and then offensively, they're balanced. Man, they could compete in the SEC West. At the end of the day, if they were in the SEC West, it'd be between them, Bama, and then you would have LSU and Auburn, in the mix, in the conversation. But Clemson could definitely compete. And in the SEC, there's no doubt if they were in the East, they'd win it.
What do you think about Kelly, quarterback?
I love Kelly Bryant, man.
Yeah.
I love Kelly Bryant. I knew.
Yeah.
I already knew. I saw the spring game. I think they call it the orange and white game.
Yeah.
Back in the spring. You can catch it on the ACC network, or it was one of those networks. And he's a beast, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's a beast. Dabo Swinney is slowly turning Clemson into, I guess you could call it Alabama East.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He recruits excellent players. He recruits smart players. They're very sound. They don't make a whole lot of mistakes, and they won a national championship last year, man. You know what I mean? That they beat Alabama.
Kelly reminds me of Cam Newton.
He does.
It's amazing. Every quarterback's so different. Boyd was different.
Sure.
More of a passer, he could run.
Right.
Deshaun Watson, more of a passer,
right.
He could run. And now you got Kelly, who's more of a runner.
Yeah.
And he showed he's got some touch too.
He can throw it.
And some of those passes were
incredible. He's young, man. Yeah. He's young. Mm-hmm. This is just the start. For him at Clemson, which is scary. It's scary. And then he's got talent. He's got a loaded backfield. He's got wide receivers, and then he's got. Look what their defense did. You score a touchdown and an extra point, and you win the game.
That's it.
And they're going to score a touchdown and an extra point, I promise you.
Oh, yeah.
So Clemson, completely shuts down Auburn, 14-6. Oklahoma beats Ohio State on the road. Baker Mayfield begins his Heisman campaign, and then we're going to go to Georgia Notre Dame. Man, what a great game that was. You see me in the Notre Dame stuff today. I'm wearing it. I'm wearing it proud. I believe Notre Dame should have won that game. They had opportunities. I said that the difference in the game would be the team that made more mistakes. Georgia made more mistakes. Notre Dame capitalized on one of them and turned it into 7, but it wasn't enough, and Georgia escapes with a 2019 win. I guess you could call it on the road in South Bend, even though there was a sea of red there. That's what blew me away. They took the home field right away from us.
Yeah. I didn't expect Georgia fans to travel like that.
Man, that was crazy. Now, it's my understanding that they're going to match. So Georgia came to South Bend this year. In 2019, Notre Dame will visit them. I don't know if they made a deal with the ticket situation. I don't know how Georgia got that many tickets. So maybe they made a deal, and Notre Dame will travel between the hedges in 2019 when they match the game, because it's a 1-for-1 match. So it'll be interesting to see. I was very impressed with Notre Dame's defense as far as stopping the run. When you look at on paper, Georgia, Chubb, you got Chubb and Michelle. Sonny Michelle, Nick Chubb. That's probably the best 1-2 punch in college football. Alabama's got a good one. There's a couple good 1-2 punches. But Georgia was opening up holes, but Notre Dame did a good job, I think. Georgia's going to do that to everybody. If they stay on the ground and they let the run open the pass up for the young quarterback for Fromm, that's where they're going to experience the most success. He's going to make mistakes. He's a freshman, man. He's going to make mistakes. They're going to let their defense try to win the games. Just take care of the ball, hand it to the running backs, pass when you have to. Make sure you stretch the field. You got to take some shots downfield sometimes. But definitely impressed with them. I thought Wimbush to St. Brown looked like it could potentially be like a Watson to Watkins, kind of like a Deshaun Watson to Sammy Watkins. It has the potential to look like we saw flashes. Now he dropped the first play of the game right in his hands. The DB did a good job of kind of hitting his arm or hitting the ball to kind of be. He still needed to catch that ball, and there were some other opportunities where St. Brown had his hand on it but couldn't bring it in. But he's Equinemius, I think is his name, St. Brown. 6'5", 220 pounds, kind of like a Calvin Johnson type body, really big, can go up and get it. And then Wimbush, did a good job of being pretty poised. I don't think he made any mistake. I don't think he threw any interceptions or anything like that. I think Notre Dame played pretty sound. They could have done some things better for sure. But the guy's got to catch that ball at the 50 late in the game.
Speaking of catches, who was the receiver for Georgia? You probably know what I'm talking about. The crazy one-handed catch he made.
Oh man, that was unreal. Yeah, that was unreal. Where he caught it on the ball on his back. Yeah, that was unreal. That was the big play that changed the game. He doesn't make that catch, and we're talking about a 19-13 Notre Dame win. But in that last drive that Notre Dame had, that boy's got to bring that ball in. They're at the 50. You got 2.5 minutes. You get a couple first downs, kick a field goal, and you take it to the locker room with a 22-20 win, and probably pretty close to the top 15 ranking. I don't know if Notre Dame will drop out of the top 25 with a loss like that, but I think Georgia will move to about 11 or 10 or 11. Have the polls come out?
I don't know. I'm gonna check.
Okay.
If not already, I know it will be soon. Now, I do take solace in the fact that we were right on Fromm.
We were, yeah.
How he is, looks like he's definitely better
than Eason. I think he is. When you talk about the two between Eason and Fromm, Eason has the experience, especially when it comes to SEC play. He's got the reps, but I think Fromm is definitely the right choice at that position for Georgia. If you can just, if you, like I say this all the time, if the coach, if Kirby can just grab him by his face mask and say, look, son, throw the ball away, take the sacks, don't try to do the extra things. You know what I mean? If it's not there, throw it away. If they're putting pressure and they got a hold of you, go down. Protect the ball. Let our defense, which has, I believe, 6 or 7 guys projected to go in the NFL draft next year, let them win the game. And let's go to the ground, give it to Chubb, give it to Michelle, keep fresh legs in, and win that way. Because if history repeats itself, Georgia is good at beating Georgia. You know what I mean? The Georgia's biggest enemy is always Georgia, kind of like Florida State. Florida State, every year it seems like their biggest enemy is Florida State. Louisville, they always make those 15-yard penalties for roughing the passer or unnecessary roughness, or they fumble, or they make 2 or 3 bad decisions in a game that sometimes is the difference between going to a BCS playoff, or winning a game by 3 points or losing a game by 3 points. So it'll be interesting to see. Hopefully, Georgia looks like they have the talent. Notre Dame is much better, being a Notre Dame fan, than I thought they would be. I was surprised that they were a 6-point favorite going into that game. Granted, it was at South Bend. It didn't really feel like it was much of a home game. There was so much red there, but that was a good game. I'll tell you what I was most impressed with, and it has to do with that game. Number 3 for Georgia, Raquan Smith.
Yes.
That dude is an absolute beast, man. If I need a linebacker, if I'm in the NFL and I need a linebacker, I know if you got a top pick, you're going to take a quarterback, an offensive tackle, or usually a defensive end. But if I'm an NFL team and I have a top 10 pick and I need a linebacker, I'm picking that kid.
Yeah.
I don't care what anyone else says. I don't care if there's another guy that's being talked about. I don't care if there's another 5 guys that's being talked about. From what I've seen in 2 games, I'm taking Raquan Smith as my linebacker if I need one in the top 10 in next year's draft, period.
Smith, that guy,
He was everywhere.
you talk about making a statement on a big stage.
That dude was everywhere. If I was a Notre Dame running back, quarterback, wide receiver, that dude would have pissed me off, man. You know what I mean?
No doubt.
Like, he was literally everywhere. I could not believe it. I wore number 3 in basketball. I wore 24 in football, but I wore number 3, so I always have a thing with number 3. I like number 3s. And this past weekend, I hated seeing number 3 for the other team literally everywhere. So that guy was very impressive. So we'll hop over to the NFL. The Dallas Cowboys put a whooping on the Giants, man. Very impressed with the Cowboys defense and what they were able to do against the Giants. They win the game, I believe, 19-3. That was one of my plays. I went 1-1 yesterday in the NFL. I don't have as many picks when I handicap. NFL is very, very tough. Anyone that's ever made put wages on NFL games, or anyone that has advised as far as handicapping or sports advising, knows that the NFL is very tough. My system is different. My formula is different for the NFL as opposed to college football. But my 2 plays yesterday were the Texans -6. It was a very embarrassing loss. They didn't even compete. And then we won with the Cowboys -4. And that was a very easy 15-point cover. 12-point cover. So we went 1-1. Both were small 1-unit plays. And so we just lost a 10% juice. That's okay. We had a huge day in college football to make up for it. So that was good. Jacksonville and Houston. Oh, looks like we got Carl on the line, correct? All right. Hey, Carl, what's going on? Good morning, Carl. How are you? Absolutely, man. It was a great weekend. Yes, it was. Yeah, that's right. That's right. hmm And and we got a week to kind of heal up. That's the biggest thing. You know, we got hurt, man. We lost some guys on the defensive end, on the defensive side of the ball. We lost three guys, three very big guys. Now that just means some young guys can step in. Norvell, he's only been there a couple of years, but he has recruited well. We've got some young guys like Tim Hart that can step in. We've got Woodson from South Panola who's going to have to step in. The thing that I worry about is the depth. Because, Carl, if we want to beat UCLA, and I definitely think that we can, we're going to have to outscore them, and we're going to have to put pressure on the Golden Child, man. We're going to have to put pressure on Rosen, because Rosen can... The Golden Child, that's what they call him over there. That's what they call him, Josh Rosen, the Golden Child.
Yeah, they do call him that.
Right. I don't think he's ready to be drafted. I think he definitely returns. I think he returns for his. He's just a sophomore, right? Yeah, he returns for his junior year, Carl. I don't think he's not at a senior. Man, unless he was a JUCO transfer, I'm way off. I believe he is a redshirt sophomore. We can find out though. We can you could be right. I'm not saying that you're wrong. You could be right, but if I'm not mistaken, he's been there 3 years. I think they redshirted him his sophomore. The quarterback for the University of Memphis. Yeah. I'm trying to find out now exactly. Let's see here. Riley Ferguson, 6'4". He is a junior, actually, and he is a JUCO transfer. He came from Coffeyville Community College. So we were both, Carl, we were both wrong. We were both wrong. He could go if he wanted to. I think he will be back for his senior year. He would have to have an absolutely huge season. Not saying that he can't. But, I believe, a quarterback at Memphis is gonna play all 4 years. Paxton Lynch was kind of a rare type deal because he had he's 6'7", he had all the mechanics, he had the body, the build. I think Riley, it would be smart for him to come back for his senior season. That is my opinion. I still think he has a huge season this year. I really do. He's got so much talent at the wide receiver position. You talk about Sam Kraft, you talk about Anthony Miller, Phil Mayhew. There's some young guys that are going to make names for themselves. And then that backfield, when you talk about Patrick Taylor, Tony Pollard, Dorland Dorcius, Henderson, we've got 4 guys at running back that could start for most of the teams in the AAC. We really do. And then 3 of those guys are sophomores. So the future looks bright. The offensive line is definitely, I know we can only gauge it on the Louisiana Monroe game. But they look good. They opened up holes. They protected the quarterback, and really odd weather situation there. But I think Riley will be back for his senior year. As far as where he is picked to get drafted, I don't know. There's a thing I just pulled up. It says Memphis's football Riley Ferguson not a top 10 QB ? That's a joke. So there is an article that came out in early August of 2017. I'm trying to open it up now, but it was in the commercial appeal. So I believe maybe they are saying he's a top 10 quarterback in the NCAA. So, you could be right. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh, man. I, mm-hmm. Right. I I agree. Okay. Mm-hmm. Right? He's gone. I, I think he's gone anyways. Carl Brett Bielema, they got absolutely destroyed this weekend at home against TCU by 3 touchdowns. Uh, huh? I mean, he gets outcoached a lot. Kevin Sumlin's gone. Kevin Sumlin's gone. It has nothing to do with the Saban factor. Nick Saban's going to beat those two guys anytime, any day. I don't care if they've got the best players in the country. Nick Saban's still going to beat those guys. Kevin Sumlin and Brett Bielema don't stand a chance against a guy like Nick Saban. He's gone, man. Butch Jones is gone for the simple fact that Tennessee has an absolutely murderous schedule. I have them going 6-6, 3-5 in the SEC, good for a fourth in the East. And I have that because I think South Carolina is going to be better than people think. I think I have South Carolina going 7-5 or 8-4. They have a very soft schedule. I think out of their 12 games, only 4 on the road. One was on a neutral site, which they already won against NC State, and then they went on the road and already got one SEC road win. They got a great draw out of the West. They did, South Carolina avoided Auburn, Alabama, and LSU in the West, and they've got the softer out of the 3 games, out of the 3 SEC West teams. I think they drew Missouri and Ole Miss, and I believe A&M. Yeah, so that's 3 wins, I believe. Whereas Tennessee got Auburn, LSU, Alabama. Tennessee got the tough draw. South Carolina got the good draw. That puts them at 3rd and Tennessee at 4th. And then, of course, it'll come down to the cocktail party October 28th as far as the winner of the SEC East. Florida's won it the last 2 years. Georgia's looking really good, but you never know. That game's always up in the air. I was very impressed with Georgia. Raekwon Smith, I believe, is the best defensive player in the country right now. I know that's a bold statement, but I know what my eyes see. And my eyes see a guy number 3 in the linebacking core for Georgia that was absolutely everywhere all night long. He absolutely single-handedly wreaked havoc. And so far we're 3 for 3. Butch Jones, I believe, will be gone at the end of the year if he makes it through the year. Sumlin won't make it through the year. Brett Bielema will be gone at the end of the year. So who's number 4? No, Gus Malzahn will not be gone. Gus Malzahn will not be gone. I think Auburn has a good year. I think they have a good year. I know they had a tough loss, but they played the potential national champions on Saturday, man. I've been telling people, I can't emphasize it enough, Clemson is going to be just fine. I know they lost to Deshaun Watson, but Clemson's going to be just fine, man. Dabo has done an excellent job of, what's that? Man, Clemson is good, man. They shut Auburn down, 6 points. Gus Malzahn is a offensive genius. There's no doubt about that. Anybody that says otherwise doesn't know what they're talking about. And Clemson absolutely had Jarrett Stidham running for his life, and they held them to a 6-point ball game. I do believe Gus will still be there because I think they'll still finish respectably. I think 9-3 is good enough to keep his job. Now, if he finishes 7-5, then he may be out of there. But I believe they go 9-3, and I believe that Gus Malzahn keeps his job. So as far as the Saban factor goes, if you've lost to Saban 4 years in a row, I believe is what you said. Who doesn't? Who doesn't lose to Saban 4 years in a row? Right. I'll tell you one coach that was doing a decent job against Saban, and that was a guy over at Ole Miss. And he's not there, but right. Uh-huh. Right. He can coach. Hey, look, I played against him. I played at St. Benedict at Auburndale, 96 through 2000, when he was the head coach at Briarcrest. I think we lost to him by 34, 39. And they used to beat us pretty bad. They had a guy named Cole Hoppy at wide receiver that took me to school every game. He had a full ride to Tennessee, I believe. He ended up going and playing baseball. And then they had a guy named Frank Pace. He was about a 6'3", 6'4" quarterback that could literally put the ball on the line. And I used to hate playing Briarcrest and ECS because we could not compete with those guys. Hugh Freeze played that spread, and if he can do it with high school kids, I knew he could do it in college. He went to Ole Miss, got them in the top 5 real quick, did a great job recruiting. And I want to say this, Carl, they're all doing it. He just got caught. They're making an example. They're making an example out of Ole Miss and Hugh Freeze. I don't think it's fair, but what can you do? That's life. Life's not fair sometimes. I hate that they're the school that they chose to make an example out of. But I think here in the next 4 or 5 years, you will see it happening more and more. NCAA is just trying to make a statement. That's all this is. That's all it is, man. Yeah. Yeah. Mhm. Uh, they do. They do love him. That's how he's kept his job, really. Because I don't think Mississippi State's much better than 6-6 this year. I have them finishing 6th. Everybody had Ole Miss in the 7th spot because of all the allegations and everything that went on, losing Hugh Freeze. I love Matt Luke. Well, yeah, right. Who's going? What? How are you going to get? How are you going to get the kids to start with Mississippi to win the SEC West? If you go 9-3 down in Starkville or Oxford, you did a good job, man. That's just when you've got Alabama, you've got LSU, and you've got Auburn that you're competing with every year in the recruiting battle, in the facilities battle. I mean, if you go 9-3 and you're Mississippi State, Missouri, A&M, or Ole Miss, you had a hell of a season, man. If you have higher expectations than that, then they're not really realistic. I'm not saying that none of those teams can have a Cinderella year and go 10-2, go 11-1. I mean, Ole Miss almost did it. They almost did it. Memphis rained on the parade. They came into Memphis, I think, ranked number 6. I think they were 3-0, 4-0, looking good. I mean, they ended up having a good year that year, a decent year. But if they were going to do it, that was the year that they were going to do it. And, and I want to correct something real quick. I know this is way off what we've been talking about, Carl. Memphis's Sam Kraft is out for the year. I've been mentioning his name as part of the wide receiving kind of stable. Sam Kraft's out for the year. That just means more touches for Anthony Miller and Phil Mayhew. There's some other guys that are going to step in and do nice. So that's as far as Memphis football goes. Man, they have lost a ton of talent very early. I did not know that. So Sam Kraft's out for the year. He will be back, I believe, with a medical red shirt. We've lost Jackson Dillon on the defensive side, Gentry on the defensive side, and then Darian Porter on the defensive side. So 3 in the front 7 out in the first game of the year against Louisiana Monroe, a fairly insignificant program as far as we go. So it's a shame to lose 3 guys like that in one game. And then Sam Kraft's out for the year on the offensive side. All that means is one of these young freshmen or sophomore are going to have to step up and get the reps, get the experience, work hard in practice, and it's the next guy in. When you have a next guy in mentality, the excuses go out and out the door, and then you just win, man. You go out there, you win, you don't make excuses. I hate hearing the word if. All right, man, Carl, thank you for calling in, man. Have a great day. All right, so that was Carl. He calling in, talking a little college football, talking about the Saban factor. If you've lost to Saban 4 years in a row, do you lose your job? My argument, what coach doesn't lose to Saban? When we get back from break, we'll finish up talking about the NFL. Andrew Vanelli, the Ace, Sports Hour with Ace. Be right back. I'm gonna talk about DJ when we come back from break, Dana. Definitely gonna talk about DJ. I want to see about getting DJ on the show. If we can get DJ on the show, that would be great. If he could call in, interview him. I love my military guys. He's a Navy guy, My whole family is are Navy guys. So yeah, I would love to have DJ. Y'all like that outro music? So, who else is in here? Hey, baby, I love you. How am I doing, guys? How's the show? Are you guys enjoying the show? See you, Butch. Sean, I think, I don't know who they would get, but there's definitely going to be some good coaches available. I don't think that Tennessee's problems are Butch Jones' fault. I really don't. It's tough, man. It's tough. Justin Myers, what's going on? Chelsea Matthews, what's going on? Angela Hodges, how are you? I hope you and I know we lost, but you see I'm repping. You see I'm repping. The hat's dirty, but I'm repping. I know you got the little Georgia sign behind me, but it's the studio. What can you do? I was pleased with the Memphis game. Wish I could hear what he was saying. Oh, I know. When they call in, there's a way to where you guys can hear, but it's, I got my headset on, so. Basically, all he was saying was the Saban factor. If you're an SEC coach and you've lost 4 years in a row to Saban, do you automatically lose your job? The 4 coaches he named were Kevin Sumlin, Butch Jones, Brett Bielema, and Gus Malzahn. Well, 3 of those 4 are gonna be gone anyways. That's my opinion. Nick Harris, what's going on? Susan Day, hey, how are you? I love all the hearts. I love all the hearts. Drew DeKluski, what's going on, man? Thanks for watching. Thanks everyone for being in here. Iran, how are you? Dave Bodie, how are you? Steve Barizza, Bobby Ratteri, Anthony McClanahan, what's going on, Anthony? Anthony McClanahan, everybody, if you're not following, Anthony was on my show Friday morning. He's been in Texas helping out Hurricane Harvey victims. He's been down in Puerto Rico helping out Hurricane Irma victims, and now I believe he's probably about to be heading to Florida to help out Hurricane Irma victims and saving animals, dogs, cats, just out there, man. One of God's warriors out there helping others, man. He was on the show. To the top, Texas 41, to the top Florida 41, to the top Puerto Rico 41. Anthony McClanahan is definitely doing big things. Mike Chavez, what's going on? Nicole Lyons, thanks for watching. Carly Limbo, how are you? If I haven't mentioned your name, it's because I don't see it, so I apologize. Crystal, how are you? Chris Wick, what's going on, brother? Ted Summit, Shane Ray, Carly McDonald, Lauren Harris, Lawrence Thompson, Michael Nass, Josh Vanelli, what's going on, cuz? Chosen D. Everyone that's not following Chosen D, go to YouTube. He's a young, aspiring artist down in Atlanta. He's with Music Gods. I think he just got out of his deal, if I'm not mistaken. He just got out of his deal with Universal. He's an up-and-coming lyricist out of Atlanta. Very, 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 very talented young man. So be sure to follow him and subscribe to him on YouTube and check him out. It's AM730 SB Nation Radio Network that I'm on. You can stream it live on the TuneIn app. Can you get it on Tuner on Stitcher and iTunes?
Not Stitcher, but Simple Radio.
Okay, Simple Radio. You can download the TuneIn app, and then TalkBackLive.com.
Yeah.
TalkBackLive.com network. TuneIn app. Talkback Live Network. Okay. TalkBackLiveNetwork.org. You can stream the show. That way they can hear the calls and stuff like that, right?
Yes.
They can hear the call. You can hear the calls like that. You can download the TuneIn app. It's KQPN AM730 SB Nation Radio. And then what was the other one? Simple Radio. So all 3 of them are apps. So download those apps and you can listen. Frank Sell, what's going on, brother? Hey, mama. What's going on, mom? I love you. Frank, what's going on, brother? In the studio talking a little college football, NFL football, doing what I love, man. Doing what I love. I'm going to get set back up here. For everyone that doesn't know, my show has been moved from Friday mornings to now Monday through Thursday from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. If you're in Memphis, you can listen on KQPN AM730 SB Nation Radio. Sports Hour with Ace is the name of the show. and or you can listen on those apps that I just told you about. I am looking for sponsorship.
What you can do, if they want to hear those headphones on the table there.
Yeah.
On the other side of the table.
On this right here?
Yeah. You should see if those are here to those. And if you can't, hold on one second.
How do I turn the volume up on them? Oh, yeah. Y'all tell me if y'all can hear this. Drop a 1 if you can hear that. Yeah, 452-3094. Call into the show, 452-3094. Russia Martin, what's going on? Can you guys hear that?
At no out-of-pocket expense to you. That's right. Danny and his team, they'll work directly with your insurance company to get you taken care of quickly and professionally, and most importantly, at no out-of-pocket cost to you. You've heard me talking about it for years. People ask me all the time if this is legit. I'm telling you.
You can hear it? Perfect. They can hear it. All right, good deal. So now, when someone calls in, now y'all will be able to hear. And what I was going to get into, guys, I'm looking for sponsorship. I now have 4 opportunities on air to where you can be a title or a featured sponsor of the show. For instance, today's show is featured by Sheffield Antique Mall and Ronnie Grisani's Italian Restaurant. Tomorrow's show, I'm hoping, is going to be featured by SEC Logistics, which is my buddy Stephen Thompson's company. I gotta get back. Hey, welcome back, everybody. It's Andrew Vanelli, Sports Hour with Ace. I'm your host, Andrew Vanelli, and here talking a little bit about NCAA football the week that passed, the NFL football the week that passed, and then if we have time, we will get into the week ahead. I'm in here with Joshua Midgets on the 1s and 2s. We've been talking a lot of college football, a little bit about, got into NFL. We're going to pick up in the NFL, where Jacksonville went into Houston and absolutely put it on them. 10 sacks in the game. Tom Savage and Deshaun Watson at quarterback. They had a rough day, man. They had a really rough day. I don't know if it was good to see Watson get his chance, but I don't know if he'll make it through the year, man. That offensive line looked porous. They couldn't block a lower tier type team. I know Jacksonville's defense is pretty good. Jacksonville's defense has historically kept them in games. But what about Blake Bortles? Our boy Blake Bortles. We talked about him on the podcast and how terrible he is. And then in week 1 he goes out and lights up 29 points and makes us look like we don't know what we're talking about.
It's unbelievable. I don't get that game. Just completely, made my mind do an overload.
Yeah,
okay, what's really going on in the division?
Right. As a handicapper,
yeah,
you're gonna lose games. Yeah. But when you lose them like that, that's embarrassing. When you tell your clients, take Houston minus the 6 points, I expect them to win the game by 10 plus, and then they lose by 22. You kind of look like you don't know what you're talking about. But look, anyone that's ever handicapped or sports advised as far as football goes, they understand my pain. They know it's a roller coaster. I do not have a crystal ball in front of me. I cannot see the future. And if anything's unpredictable, it's sports. Now, I can give you an educated guess. I do my homework. I do have a formula. I do have a system for each. The formulas and systems are different for college football as opposed to NFL because the games are much tighter in the NFL. It's really, really hard. But I have experienced success for 4 years, so stick with me, and I can show you guys I did win. I did make up for the loss with the Giants. With the Cowboys, minus the 4 versus the Giants. They had an easy victory, 19-3. Very impressed with the Cowboys' defense. Very impressed with Ezekiel Elliott in the ground game. And I think the Cowboys will definitely be contending for the Super Bowl for that NFC spot. I think they'll compete for sure. I think they'll win the NFC East. I think it's going to be between them and the Eagles. That brings me to the Eagles and the Redskins games. I think Carson Wentz looked pretty good. He was kind of Carson Wentz. He made some great plays, and then he kind of made some dumb ones. He made some bad throws. But overall, he looked good. Kirk Cousins, he puts up the numbers, but he just makes too many mistakes, to be an NFL quarterback. I think that was the difference as the Redskins win, the Eagles win on the road. They were in Washington yesterday, I believe. I didn't see too much of the game. I really just saw the highlights. But Carson Wentz looks like he's going to be pretty good. The Eagles' defense should be good this year. The Bears and the Falcons, the Bears gave that game away. They had an opportunity late to win, and the Bears did what the Bears do. They couldn't block up front for the quarterback. I was surprised kind of with the quarterback. I think he did okay. And usually, if I can say that the quarterback did okay at the Bears fans will take okay. We'll take okay after our experience with quarterbacks. But the Falcons escaped with a 23-17 win on the road, which is huge for a team like Atlanta coming off that Super Bowl debacle after giving up a 25-point lead. You never know how a team, even though they're professionals, even though it's the NFL, you don't know how a team's going to respond. They go up to Soldier Field in Game 1, and they escape with the 23-17 win. In the NFL, it doesn't matter if it's 1 point, 6 points, 20 points. A win is a win, man.
And, crazy thing about it, the Bears QB, like you said, looked pretty good. And, if he had a receiver, it might be okay. They just drop everything.
They drop everything, man. Brandon Marshall, gone.
Yeah.
Alshon Jeffrey, gone.
I don't even know those guys, man.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I have no idea who they are either. Hopefully somebody can step in, But if not, it's going to be a long season for the Bears, and I'm prepared and ready for it. I think I have them finishing third in the North, 5-11. So that's my expectations. Yesterday showed me I could be wrong because they competed with the Super Bowl contenders, the runner-ups. It was at home. They had an opportunity to win in the red zone late, and they couldn't block. So it is what it is. Another game that we have not talked about was the Titans and the Raiders. And, I root for the Titans in the AFC. I think Mariota did some good things. They have some work to do on that side of the ball. The Raiders looked very good. I think the Raiders pick is going to hold true. I think that they will compete with the Patriots in the AFC. I was very impressed with the way they went on the road in Week 1 and came out of there with a 26-16 win. Your boy Derek Carr looked pretty good. The Raiders go on the road in Week 1 and win. So that's two big teams. That's two teams that had to start out the year on the road. Much tougher opponent for the Raiders and the Titans, I believe. But they get the win, and that was one of my and the other guys on the podcast, Sports Queued Up with Quentin Bailey. We picked the Raiders to be one of the contenders in the AFC with the Patriots. And they went on the road and took care of business against the Titans. Unfortunately for me, being a Titans fan in the AFC, that was not fun to watch. And then the Atlanta Falcons, they went on the road and they beat the Bears. I know it's the Bears, but, after what happened at the end of last season, to go on the road and get a win in the NFL in Week 1, that's always good for the momentum, confidence, and they know they can go out there and take care of business. We're talking about the NFL where the playing field is definitely level. More level as opposed to college football where parity is becoming a level playing field more and more as each year goes on in college football. There's FCS teams competing against top tier FBS teams, which is crazy to me. But real quick, I want to go back to college football for a minute and recognize Navy linebacker and former Christian Brothers High School graduate DJ Palmore, number 45. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, he is up for Defensive Player of the Week. So former Christian Brothers High School linebacker DJ Palmore, number 45, he'll be in Memphis playing the Tigers here in about 6 weeks. He is up for Defensive Player of the Year. There's a way that you can go and vote for him. I think if you just put in his name in a Google search, put in DJ Palmore, Palmore, he's a former Christian Brothers High School standout. He decided to go to Navy, and I respect my Navy guys. I love all my military guys, and I definitely think that everyone should take the time. It only takes 10 seconds. I did last night. Go and vote for him. If I'm not mistaken, I believe he's up for a defensive player of the year, or a player of the week. So go in there and do that. Back to handicapping and how I kind of do things. I feel like there are some people that are interested in becoming clients, and I feel like they just don't understand how things work, so I'm going to use this portion of the show. If you want to call in, feel free to call in, 452-3094. The lines are all the way open, 452-3094. Feel free to call in. To handicapping, I want everyone to understand kind of how it works. I think some people might not understand the verbiage. They might not understand when I'm talking about laying the points, taking the points, ATS, which it means against the spread. Vegas puts a line on the games. Anyone, I believe, in college football can pick a winner as far as just head up, straight up. But when you're trying to win against a spread, it makes it much more difficult. So some verbiage, ATS means against the spread. Laying the points means you were going to take the team that is minus the points. If you're laying the points, if you're taking the points, you're going to take the underdog, which means there will be a plus and then a point number, meaning that team can lose by that amount of points or less, and then you win. I'm a big believer in taking underdogs. I love taking points, especially home teams getting points. Hence the fact this week alone in the NCAA, we took North Carolina plus 12, which ended up pushing. We took Michigan plus the 34.5, which was a 5-unit, my biggest play of the year so far, until later that evening when we took the over 56 in the USC-Stanford game, and that was a 10-point cover. And then we had Missouri plus South Carolina plus the 2.5. At Missouri, I thought the wrong team was favored there. I almost advised my guys to take South Carolina on the money line and get a little bit bigger payout, but we took the 2.5, and that was a 20.5-point cover. So all 3 games combined that we won totaled out at a 41 points in covers. 12.5 points with the Cincinnati game, 20.5-point cover with South Carolina plus 2.5, and then we had the over 56 in the USC-Stanford game. 42-24 was the final in that. And I tell you what, man, USC looked good, Josh. We talked about Stanford having a chance to go in there and beat USC based kind of off of the way Stanford looked against Rice over in Australia, and based on the way USC looked in Week 1. USC showed that they're definitely going to be a contender in the Pac-12 with Washington. Stanford is going to be a team that goes in and beats somebody that they shouldn't, whether it's Washington. They had their shot against USC. They didn't get it. I'm trying to think of who else might compete. I don't think UCLA. At the end of the year, I don't think that they will. I just don't think that they will compete. Not for a Pac-12 championship or a chance at going, I think that they'll finish around, the second or third spot on their side. I think a team to watch out for that could potentially be really good is Colorado. Colorado looked really good. Colorado State, that was one of my plays in Week 1. We actually played Colorado State. I think that was one of the first games of the year, minus 3.5 against Oregon State, and they looked very good. They won that game by, I believe, 27 points. And then I think 5 days later, they had a quick turnaround, and they had to play the rivalry in Denver at a neutral site against Colorado, where we took Colorado minus the 3.5, I believe, and Colorado laid it on a very good, not a very good, but a pretty good Colorado State team that's still probably a year or two away. But Colorado could be one of those dark horse type teams in the Pac-12 that could compete with USC and Washington. Washington State can score points, but I don't think that they'll be a factor. So we're going to talk a little bit about Memphis. Big week coming up. They play UCLA. Josh Rosen comes to town. I believe he's got 9 touchdowns so far in the year in just 2 games. He's literally lighting it up. I would not be surprised if he finished the year with 50-plus touchdowns, kind of like Lamar Jackson. Whether or not he'll get into the Heisman talk, I don't think he will, because I think they'll experience 3 or 4 losses, including one this week. That may be a homer pick. But I think the Tigers will take care of business. I am worried. If I do have a concern, it's about the front 7 and the guys that we've lost up front. I am going to try, again, to get Jackson Dillon on the phone to call in. He was supposed to call in, or, he had a team meeting, I believe it was on Thursday. He was going to call in, kind of talk about his injury. Jackson Dillon's out for the year due to a dislocated shoulder. He's having reconstructive surgery on it. He will be back for his 6th year. He's getting a medical red shirt, so he'll be back. He's in a rehab this year, get the surgery done. But we lost him. We've lost Gentry. We've lost Porter. So it's time for guys to step in. I'm very ready for the game. Me and my fiance, Amanda Phelps, are going to be going to the game. It's 11 a.m. kickoff. We've got our parking pass. We've got our 2 tickets, and we are very excited. It really, really reminds me of 2015 when Ole Miss came to town. Not quite as big of a game because Ole Miss came in. I believe they were ranked 6th. We were, I believe, ranked as well. I know if we weren't ranked, it catapulted us into the top 20, I think. And, I'm really excited about the game. It's going to be interesting to see if we can put pressure on Rosen. It's his first road game, if I'm not mistaken. No, it's UCLA's first road game, because they played A&M on a neutral site, correct? Or did A&M That was at home. Okay, so UCLA makes their first true road game. It is a very, very long trip. I think it's like a 2,800-mile road trip. Kickoff is at 11 a.m., so it'll feel like 9 a.m. to them, and that's going to be tough to go on the road. It's foreign territory. That'll end my show. We'll pick up talking a little Tigers tomorrow. Tune in 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Sports Hour with Ace. I'm your host, Andrew Vanelli. Thanks for all the callers and tuning in. Have a wonderful Monday morning and afternoon. Peace. Man, time flies. Time definitely flies.
That fight song gets me pumped up.
Oh, yeah. Get me pumped up, baby. Thanks, everyone, for watching. I hope the show was good. I hope you enjoyed it. Mom, I love all the hearts. Amanda, I love all the hearts. Heart me up, heart me up, heart me up. Show me the love. All right, love you guys. I got to get into to work. I'll be back on 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. tomorrow. And if you want to know where you can stream, you can download the TuneIn app. Talkback Live Network, talkbacklivenetwork.org. And what's the third one? Simple Radio app. Those are the 3 apps you can download. Stream it live. That way you can listen to the callers. Or you can just watch me on here. We figured out a way where you can hear the callers when they call in through the headphones. So thanks, everyone, for watching, man. Have a great Monday morning and afternoon. God bless.